Hey, I'm Mel, and I'm on my first ever bikepacking journey here in South America, which escalated a bit because I'm now pedaling across this continent with my partner in crime, Louise. Over the past 100 days, we faced the rains in Patagonia and the dry plains of Argentina, and we're now heading into our biggest adventure yet, cycling through an extremely remote part of the Bolivian Altiplano. To get there, we will have to cross through Chile to the start of our route on the Bolivian border, which we plan to hitchhike due to crazy headwinds. We estimated that the route itself would take us about 8 to 10 days. And as there were little to no resupply points along the way, we packed food for 10 days and loaded each bike with 7 liters of water. So here we were, trying to find a ride to the Bolivian border and start the route later this day. And we got lucky, because pretty soon this truck stopped by to give us a ride.
El camión con Miguel y Edgar.
I never sat in a big truck like this before, and it was actually really interesting to listen to live realities of the drivers. And just like that, we were almost at the start of the route. Well, almost. We got stuck behind a truck that had just crashed before us and got to the border station in the dark. Resultingly, we spent an awfully cold night camping next to the closed Chilean station. It was so cold that we squeezed into my one-person tent.
Just complete ice.
And it gets worse.
Ice.
The valve of Louise's air mat broke during the night, so the only option really was to hitchhike the 50 kilometers to the closest town to get a replacement and then hitchhike back up. And if you're starting to think that this series should have been called Becoming a Hitchhiker, you might have a point. But then, we were ready to start our adventure and headed over to the Bolivian border station. Which was not open, and wouldn't be until the next day, we learned. A French cyclist joined our waiting game, and we actually found a room that was open, where we set up camp for the night. Oh, and about that replacement air mattress.
Oh Mann! Scheiße, das liegt immer auf dem Boden. This is nothing. Well, that's a cue.
The next morning, the border opened for a tour group that passed through, so we were able to get our stamps.
Where are you from? Germany.
And then, finally, with one ration short of food, we were ready to start the route.
And like 4,700 meters! Really? 4,700? Isn't that wild? Oh my goodness. Hallo?
Meinst du, wir können dich streicheln?
Ich weiß es nicht. Du kannst ja mal hingehen. Vielleicht spuckt es dich an.
Ist mein Fahrrad.
Hallo. Ist das geil.
Sind wir an der Ostsee?
Es riecht einfach wie am Meer.
The first days felt like cycling through a dream. I don't remember ever feeling this touched by a place before in my life. Even though I'd be lying if I said it wasn't hard.
Oh, es ist so anstrengend. Ich habe voll Seitenstechen von der Höhe und dem Hochfahren, aber dann habe ich mal hinter mich geschaut. Und dann kriegt man direkt wieder gute Laune.
But as we moved further into the region, the tracks got rougher and temperatures dropped day by day, and so did our excitement level.
This is exhausting. I don't know if you can see the street, but it's very sandy. Exhausting. Stuck in the sand.
We passed through a little village where we were able to stock up on a few items, but really the only thing they sold here was cookies and Coke. I got so desperate for a real meal that I accepted a soup with alpaca meat from a local, and I'm a vegetarian. And then followed what we refer to as the day of despair. It was that one day where the sun just didn't warm up the air, and we were exhausted to the bones. It was that day where the water froze while we were cycling. It was the day where Louisa's spoon froze to her bowl of oats.
Nice. It's already 10 o'clock and it's -8. It's -7. How's the mood today, Louisa?
I think we've officially reached our low point of the trip. It's weird. Freaking cold.
It's cold. And we've been at this altitude for maybe 8 days, almost 7 days. It's starting to be really tough. Alter Schwede, ey.
Ich brauche neue Kraft.
The altitude was wearing us out, and so was the condition of the tracks we were following. We had already gone through our decent food and were now left with instant polenta, and my stomach was really not too happy about that.
Presto pronta, polenta, polenta. Delicioso. Mit Tetrapack-Erbsen. Wie schmeckt's?
Richtig gut.
Oh, this is terrible. Shitty thing. I don't even think that this is type 2 fun. I think this is just no fun.
And there I learned what it feels like to have left the comfort zone far behind. Wanting to give up and not being able to is such a strange feeling. The sun set, and we knew we still had to keep going. But eventually, there is always another sunrise. Louise and I had slept in my one-person tent again that night, cold and miserable. But when we got up the next morning, somehow a spark of motivation returned. Maybe we knew that we had gotten through the hardest part.
Yeah, this might seem like a warm, sunny breakfast table, but if you look closely, everything that was a bit wet is directly frozen.
And then we realized we had visitors.
Das ist ein witziges Foto, unsere beiden Schlafsäcke und dann dieses Tierchen da oben.
It's crazy how much the weather influences the state of mind on the bike. With the sun warming our skin, the magic of the Altiplano enchanted us once again as we rolled through these incredible sceneries and watched flamingos in the water. And then I experienced one of the best feelings on this journey. Going downhill on asphalt with a tailwind after 11 days of sand. Although there was one thing that was able to beat this feeling. I remember when we were in Patagonia, I used to think, if I make it to the salt flats, that would be insane. Now, waking up to this, it seemed like we hit a major milestone on this journey. The Salar de Uyuni is the biggest salt flat in the world. It spans over 11,000 square kilometers. And, fun fact, Did you know that there is a tradition among cyclists to cycle naked for a little stretch? Who would even do that? Either way, we felt this exuberant freedom. We felt empowered and proud and a bit goofy, like kids on a massive playground.
That's the sky. Scheiße.
Now I'm gonna fast forward the next part a bit. Back in civilization, we ate all the fruits and vegetables we could find and took a bus to Sucre, one of Bolivia's 2 capital cities, and took a well-deserved break from the high altitude.
We're not freezing to death.
We met back up with the French bikepackers I had cycled with in Argentina, and Luisa went to a Spanish language school. While she finished her course, I bussed over to La Paz, Bolivia's other capital city, which is probably the craziest city I've ever seen. I planned on joining an expedition to a 6,000-meter peak in the incredible mountains that surround the city. And to prepare for that, I went on a multi-day warm-up hike.
My legs. I feel every muscle. Why did I cycle for the last month? Did it mean nothing to you, muscles? Nothing?
I actually messed up my knee on this first hike, scratched the expedition, and went to the Amazon rainforest instead, where I mostly sat in a boat, fished piranhas, and learned how to make chocolate, and dove into the incredible biodiversity of the Amazon. Reunited in La Paz, Luis and I navigated our way out of La Paz's complex network of gondolas, and we're finally back on our bikes.
Finally, some good nature times again. Out of the big city, back on gravel roads. Oh, that's bumpy.
Cycling along the enormous Titicaca lake, we started reflecting on our trip, and we were contemplating where and for how long we wanted to continue this journey. We've been on the road now for 140 days, and we were both starting to struggle a little bit with travel fatigue, even though we were super excited to be cycling again. The last months we passed by so many incredible places, landscapes, and towns, but to me it did sometimes feel like I was just passing by. I realized I was missing a deeper connection with the local people, and I wanted to learn more about the indigenous culture and the people of the Andes. And it was just then, after crossing this canal over to Peru, that we stumbled upon the Uros communities. They are an indigenous people that live on self-made reed islands on the Titicaca Lake since hundreds and hundreds of years.
Today we're going on a boat ride to the floating islands. So cool!
We reached out to them via a contact we found on iOverlander, an interactive platform for low-budget camping travelers like us. I always try to avoid tourist traps and connect with locals directly, not only to have a more authentic experience, but also to make sure that all the money I spend will actually stay with the locals and not with an international enterprise. At first, the family that hosted us these days gave us the classic tourist program. But when they realized we were there to stay and wanted to learn more, they treated us like friends, and we just joined their everyday life on these wobbly reed islands. And yes, they have dogs too. They showed us their schools, taught us how to make traditional souvenirs that they sell to visitors, and shared dinner with us.
Dinner time! We're in the cute home of Mama Rosa. Look at that meal. Wow! It's amazing.
Seeing their way of life was such an enriching experience, which we wanted to integrate more into the rest of our journey. But for now, it was time to leave the high Andes behind and head to the Peruvian coast for a totally different bikepacking experience.
You ready?
Beach life! Oh boy. Finally, we made it to the beach! Woohoo! Oh, it's so fantastic. We're currently cooking dinner.